Okay. We should be live now. Let's go here. We're going to pop that over that. And open you. Check the streams. Check the streams. Okay, that one's working. And then for YouTube. Perfect. All right. They're both working. Connection looks good. Everything is chilling. Okay. Hey guys. So yesterday we ended stream with me hating the turn system. I've thought about it, and I think I see the way forward. So the more I've thought about it, the clearer their rules have begun to form, which I didn't consider like core principles going into it, but the more I think about it, the more I feel like it's a must. The first one is, I think that I have to have back and forth turns. So in other words, I don't want clockwise turn in any conceptual way. So if we have like two enemies who both go, let's say we have two enemies in the player, both the enemies are going to go before the player. I do not want to watch one enemy go, I go. That's never happening. Both the enemies are going, and then I go. Now, both those enemies could do 30 things on their turn. I don't care. The point is that both of them go, and then I go. So that's rule one. So simultaneous turns, it has to happen. I think the next thing that has to happen is I want consistency in the turn rate. And what I mean by this is I do not want this turn order where, depending upon what stage of the round we're at, certain enemies are going and others aren't. Don't want to deal with that. That's not happening. So that's completely scrapped. I also don't want to do the classic roguelike thing of each person has their own ticker. And so it's like, oh, every 4 cycles I go, and every 5 cycles he goes, and every 7 cycles the player goes. I don't want to deal with that either, because that is, there's too many inconsistencies between when the player goes and when the player goes in variations between them for the enemy. I don't want to have to deal with that. I think that it's better if when the player sees an enemy go, they know more or less how often the enemies are going. Now, there's a very notable exception to this that I'll explain in a second for my solution, but more or less, I feel like it's very important, especially on when the enemies are going faster than you, that there's no variation, where sometimes they go 1 ahead of you and sometimes they go 2 ahead of you. I feel like you're dooming yourself when you do that. I feel like it's way too confusing, even if it logically makes sense and you would explain the tick system to a player or they already knew one existed. I think just it's not going to fly for most players. So consistent turns between player turns. The next thing is I do not want I need the snappiness of everything happens and then I go, and then everything happens and I go. I don't want to watch turns play out in front of me as if I'm not involved in it. I think that it's too fucky. It's too awkward. So here's my solution. I think I'm going to go back to the exponential turn system I talked about previously, but we're going to do 2 big things to curb the problems with the exponential turn system. And for a reminder, or in case you weren't here, the exponential turn system idea was, it's similar to the tick system, where enemies will go at different speeds, but the key distinction here is that the enemies will always go consistently in relation to the player speed. So if an enemy is 3x faster, then they will get 3 turns per player turn. Always. Every time, without question. And then similarly, if you have a slow enemy, and this is where the sort of exception comes in with the consistent turns, if you have an enemy that's slower, like a zombie might only go every half turn that a player does. Or in other words, the player will have 2 turns for every 1 turn the zombie does. Now, I don't feel like this is the same thing as the issue that I would have with the tick system, because it's going to be a bit more consistent and easy to track, and I feel like players are more willing to buy in to inconsistent turns in slower enemies, right? Like, everybody's had moments where they watch the zombie walk towards them, and they're kind of slow and they don't always, like, move every time that you'd expect them to. That's fine. That works. What you don't want is the vampire who you're tracking their movements because they're hunting you to sometimes go 7 and sometimes go 8 turns. That's a big no-no. I feel like that everybody's going to lose their fucking shit, because what's going to happen is some player is going to have in their head that it's always 7 because they missed the one time that it was 8, and then the vampire is going to do their 8th move, and it's going to perfectly get past some bullshit that the player didn't think they would be able to get into, and now they're going to be in the wrong room, or they're going to get caught at a stealth or some dumb shit, and it's going to cause a bunch of problems. I don't want to have to deal with that mental overhead. So, we're going to go back to the exponential. The issues that the exponential had were a few. One, the faster you make an enemy, the exponentially more difficult it is for the player to deal with. If an enemy is going 5 times every 1 time the player is going, you're fucked. There really is just not much you can do. Like, just truth be told, good luck. Like, what the fuck are you gonna do? And so, I like the idea of limiting that exponential issue by making turns quicker. And I don't mean like the time span in real time where the player is playing the game is faster. What I mean is what conceptually occurs in a turn is less. So instead of it being that every action is one action, it could be that moves are 1 turn, and then like a quick attack is start the swing 1 turn, execute the swing the next turn. So we're closer to the tick system, and that it's quicker, but we don't have the hold on, fuck, something being annoying. But now, because less is happening in the turn, it doesn't, now instead of a vampire maybe having like 3 turns for every 1 the player does, they have closer to like 1.5 or 2, right? Because now, instead of being able to do like swing, swing, swing before the player can go again, it's start a swing, execute the swing, then the player, then like a move attack, or maybe if it's a slow attack, maybe it's prep, swing, swing, who knows? But the point is that it's, when we shrink that down, we minimize the potential damage that can be done by having the turns get way out of hand. And also it helps keep it more intense, right? This is one of the big things that this is going to do, which I haven't mentioned yet, is that it's going to completely remove the idea of player reactions. So previously there were going to be reactions, and there were going to be turns, and then different things could trigger reactions, then different things wouldn't, and how we're going to handle that, and which one triggers a reaction and which one doesn't. Now, because the turns are so much quicker, and the speed of what's happening conceptually is so much more zoomed in, we'll say, now you don't have to do a reaction, because now that things are scheduled across turns, we just give you a turn to dodge, basically. And so now it goes from feeling like I don't know, I feel like that'll hopefully help. And I feel like that'll still keep the intensity. It's a different type of intensity, because you don't have like parry windows necessarily, unless There is an idea to make each turn timed, which I'm still debating. I might make that a setting or something. I'm not sure. But I do, at least for now, we can play with just the simple fact that we don't have to do reactions because you're given this turn window that you can work in. So that's pretty important. And then the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm probably just going to make most enemies you come across not that fast compared to you. And just make the scaling not as dramatic. So if we make all the speeds in the game between 1 and 10 and your speed 4, every speed higher than you gets an extra turn. So if you're speed 5, you get 1 extra. If you're speed 6, you get 2 extra, so on and so forth. Most enemies you're probably never going to see past speed 6. That's just probably never going to happen. There's going to be some bosses, and there's going to be some elites that are incredibly strong. And depending upon the location on the map, I might increase them. So, like, I could imagine seeing more elite areas with faster enemies, but I would just make the requirements to get into those areas higher. So your bread and butter regions that you're going to be playing a lot of encounters in, those are going to just not have as many high speed enemies. Or maybe they won't have as many high speed enemies majority of the time, right? So Dracula, despite the fact that it's Dracula's castle, you are not going to be constantly fighting Dracula. That's just not going to happen. Dracula would fucking instantly kill like all the characters if that happened 99% of the time. Dracula will be too busy, or will be gone, or is like plot-wise just will be doing something else, or will be in a region of the map the player can't get to most of the time. Because if they could, like if you could always fight Dracula in Castlevania, you're just fucking dead. It is what it is. You need all the upgrades, you need all the bonuses, you need everything in order to actually deal with them. So we're just we don't have to deal with the idea of like a speed 9, speed 10 enemy being around you all the fucking time, because that's just not really going to happen. And when they do, they'll probably have a weakness or some type of thing that makes them less able to deal with you. So imagining like there's a boss that I have that I'm planning for in the basement, and he's kind of like the idea is that basically he's a vampire older than Dracula. That essentially he was like the guy who turned Dracula. And so he's this fucking ancient fucking vampire that is so old they're like bat-like. And they're almost like a strigoi. And they live in the basement because they can't deal with the light. And they've gone fucking mad living down in this dark-ass cave. And if that enemy is significantly faster, because I would expect them to be significantly faster, let's say their speed 7 or 8. So they're going to get 4 or 5 turns for every 1 turn the player does. I can put restrictions on what they can do to make it not so brutal. You know, I can make them blind, or I can make him fucking insane. So he does this, he spends turns talking to himself or doing wacky shit or swinging around. The point is that there are enough things that I can do that I can mitigate or clamp the potential damage that's done by these extra turns when I actually let you interact with an enemy of a higher turn. So I think that's what I want to do. I think this solves all of the issues I have. It's quick, it's snappy. I think just conceptually it'll even feel snappier, despite the fact that we won't actually change any speed. In fact, we'll even make the game slower technically, because there's not going to be reaction windows right now. But just the fact that, you know, 1 turn is half a swing sometimes, or a third of a swing if it's a slow swing or something like that. Like, the fact that we're building into this, I feel like is going to make the turns feel more visceral. Now, will the player fuck up as much because they technically can always stop and wait? I don't know. We'll see. But I think it's a better starting point than what I have. And I also don't think it's going to take too much work to swap over to that. When it comes to coding the enemies, I think we're still in a pretty complex state, but it's somewhat simplified. So I'm not letting the player generate extra turns anymore, or anything similar to that. All I have to do is look at what the player could do on their turn, the set of actions they can do, and then we prep out X number of turns for each of the enemies depending upon the enemy. and then we um, do the same thing. Um, sorry, I lost train of thought for a second. Um, we go back and forth. We plan out our turns, and then we'll plan out like the whole from player to player turn. If we can do it quickly, I'd like to do player to player to player, or like 3 or 4 player steps. Um, Ahead, we don't necessarily have to. I also like the fact that because enemies will now go multiple times um, in a turn, we can we don't have to do as many turns ahead scheduling because the enemy can kind of see what's going to happen like tick wise, right? So like instead of a vampire needing to see 12 turns ahead, they can now see 3 turns ahead because they get 4 actions per turn, right? Something like that. So I think that's how I want to do it. Okay. I think another thing that would be interesting is I like the idea. How would I say this? Oh, I like the idea of. So there was still the question of like combat and adrenaline and how do we make the uh, how do we make the player feel like they can do things to give them a speed advantage, right? How do we make the player feel like they're in a situation where I am going to burn a resource, or I'm going to burn energy, or I'm going to do something to make myself kind of push through a more difficult situation in order to gain some leverage. And so one of the ideas that I have is what we can do is we can, in combat, or depending on maybe a certain button input or something, the player can temporarily increase their speed. And what that will allow us to do is essentially like minimize the amount of extra turns that more stronger enemies will get, and then slow down what other enemies will get, because you'll basically get like a speed boost. Um, and I had thought about it for a while. I previously thought this, and the more I thought about it, the more I realized I was wrong. What I thought previously was, in this exponential system, was that if the player gets faster, so that now the vampire only gets 2 turns for every 1 turn the player does, in my head, we were deleting turns. Because the way that the math came out, I was like, well, what the fuck? Now there's 1 less turn the vampire is doing. Aren't we like kind of deleting turns? Like, how does this work? But it's not necessarily the case. What we technically are doing is we're making it such that the because the player is getting faster and the disparity between, fuck, I keep misspeaking that word. I keep wanting to say disparage, but as like a noun. So like disparagity or disparagence or something like that. Is disparagence a word, or is it just disparity? Disparagence. What is the noun version of disparage? I think it's just disparity. Okay. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. The point is, when you minimize that distinction, you're not actually decreasing the amount of turns they're having. You're just, it's the same thing as saying, let's say the vampire would have been 3 times faster, so it'd be vampire, vampire, enemy, or player. Right? Now if it's, the turns number is still the same, but the player's technically getting more turns because they're shoving their way into what the difference between these. And then if they got faster, it's still the same number of turns. It's just the vampire's getting to go less because the player is filling that time space more as they, like, I don't know. It's kind of deleting, it's kind of not, but I thought about it weirdly and it caused me to not like it as much. But I think it's fine. Because I think if we look at it from the player's perspective, I think it makes them feel like they're more one-to-one with the enemy, which it does, and therefore it encourages this kind of power fantasy of like becoming more on par with these way faster monsters. So I think like more than often not, most enemies might go 1 time faster. If they're elite, they might go 2 extra turns. But like then bosses are probably gonna be where you're gonna hit your 3x's or your 4x's. You could honestly probably still have some pretty solid bosses that are 1 or 2x faster. In fact, hitting those is gonna be a bit of a bitch for a while, but that's kind of fine. Yeah, and I kind of like the idea of like some ability that you can activate to make you temporarily faster, to kind of cut down on what the enemy can do. So yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. And I'm just gonna reset that. And then let's hop into the code. So in order to get this working the way that that idea is, we need to get rid of the, we need to change this turn system a bit. So currently we come in at start round. Round doesn't really exist anymore, although we can just treat that as the beginning of the tick rate, so that's fine. Start cycle. There's definitely no such thing as cycles. So we're going to, well, yeah, we'll completely get rid of start cycle. There's no point for this. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Add a break just so I'm not getting errors. Okay. So in start round, what we're going to do is we're going to check how many of each that we're getting. Hold on. Or do we want the behavior system to do this? Because we probably still want the behavior system to start the queue. At the end of the player turn. In preparation for the next player turn. Real quick, let's click play. I want to see where we sit at this point. Yeah, so we still have the map up. Cool. Let's do. So once we start the round, then what we're going to do. I like the idea of the behavior system already knowing ahead of time what's going to happen from player to player. I think. Because that way we get more time to well, not necessarily. When would be the best time to do this logic? Ideally, I think I'd want them to know turns in advance some of the world state, but I don't know if we can actually process that much. To start this off, let's just start it on the beginning of the round, and then we'll go from there. Okay? I need to keep this simple for now. So if we're starting this at the beginning of the round, what we're going to do is we're going to check to see if the player has the highest speed of everybody. Otherwise, we're going to... Well, I guess it doesn't matter. Either way, we're going to start the enemy behavior. Currently, we have turn system into player system, into action system, behavior system, and visual system. That's our 5, I think. Let me double check. Yeah. But we could have behavior go here. Now that we're not scheduling ahead of time. And we can start preparing irregardless of whether or not the player's going. So if it's... The flow needs to be... On start round, cue the behavior system. Then we run to the player system. There's going to be a processed speed or current speed stat. Well, how do we dictate when the player goes? We process all the turns for the... All the units go for the turn. But we need to know... Fuck, the back and forth makes this so much tighter. If player is ready to go before everybody else, then we start the player turn. But if we start the player turn, we still are going to start the behavior system to start prepping the actions for whatever the player does. So either way, the behavior system's going. Then we get to the player system. We're only going to the player system if if they are at max speed. And then otherwise, we're going to go to the actions. We're going to go to the we're going to go to the action system. No, I think we still keep the behavior back here. So ignoring the first turn, the turn system comes in. Is the player the first thing? Cool, start the player. Otherwise, we head to the action system, which resolves whatever's been prepped by the behavior beforehand for everything leading up to the player. Then we go to do the visual system. Then we start the behavior system up for the next turn. So we curb away all the things that we didn't choose up until this point. We have set ourselves on our new world state. Then we start prepping for what the player might do and what the enemies will do in response to it, and kind of go from there. And then the visual system begins for whatever the action system had planned. Then we hit the next frame. We run through the animation until those are ready. And after X number of frames, whatever that comes out to, it's now ready for the player. So then we flip back to the player. The player will sit there on the player until eventually they hit their input, which we then hit the action system. We instate the input, then we check. We still don't do anything for this, actually. We run through the animation. Once we finish the animation to whatever is worthy, we go back to the turn system. We hop to the action system. We grab whatever's left for the behavior or post player. So those are the slower enemies that are slower than the player, right? So it'll be fast enemies, player, and then slow enemies. Once the slow enemies have been processed, we head back to behavior to shrink or to curb out the variations again, to leave just the we curb out the other systems to leave just the player, or just whatever's next, and then we head to the visual system to do those animations. When we're done, we start the next turn over again, is the player first, and then go from there. So the first turn is weird, because the first turn we don't have anything prepped. But once we do, what we'll probably do is just make a new case called like start run. And on start run, we just hop straight to the behavior system. And then go from there, I think. So, let's do that. Case turn states dot start run. Status dot value read write dot value is equal to system types dot behavior, and then we will break. Oh, we have these as returns. That's fine. Okay, so we're only ever going to hit the behavior after either the slow enemies have processed or the fast enemies have processed. When we do, we're going to just shrink down whatever's left, if there is anything, and then start the process up again. Yeah, because what'll happen is that we're going to pause what's currently being done when we check what the enemy is actually doing on the action system, which is going to happen when the fast enemies are supposed to go and when the slow enemies are going to go. And then immediately after we start it up again, after we've purged out the non-world states that exist. Okay, so start run, start round. Start run checks to see if queues up the behavior system. Once the behavior system queued, we set it to start round. So let's do this. Check state. Okay. System API dot get singleton system status dot dot value case oh, it's not system status, it's round status. No, is that intern system data? That might be intern system data. Oh, get singleton intern system data dot current state case start run initialize well, if you do like a start behavior cycle, behavior planning. Case next is going to be let's go into our turn system data. Close you. Went to turn system. Here. Start round. Okay, we're gonna get rid of start cycle. We're going to get rid of enemy turn. We're gonna keep player turn. We're gonna get rid of enemy react and player react. And we're gonna replace these with fast enemy turn or FE turn. And I'll write it out. Okay, now we're gonna have a bunch of errors. That's fine, because I don't want to... Whenever I do like a rework like this, I would just rather delete the names and then go through and find all like instances where it was called to make sure I don't like rename something and then it causes me weird errors later down the road. Okay. Turn states dot fast enemy turn. So this is that the enemy, we were just at the fast enemy turn. When this occurs, we're going to curb. Actually, this might be true for both fast and slow, but we'll see. Curb out non-world states and begin again. And continue, I should say. And it'll break. I don't know why you didn't do that. And then we'll do another case for slow enemy turn, where we will curve out. Those might be able to be consolidated, we'll see. Okay. We might actually be able to consolidate all of these, actually, depending on how I write the function, such that start run does this before fast enemy turn or whatever, but we'll go with this for now. We'll have start run do extra behavior, like, I don't know, generate out the, create the array and all that, allocate our memory. Okay. Then we're going to run a validate. Yeah, that makes sense to run through all of the run through all of our valid player actions. If we're doing this after fast enemy turn, validate will need to occur I guess we don't actually need to validate here, we need to validate inside each relevant world state. So I actually should probably remove this here. If true, plenty returns, we're gonna get rid of that. Then we're gonna hop the system status to visual. I'm pretty sure we're still always going to do that, so that's fine that we put this at the end. Turn system, okay. So we need to delete this, and this, and this. What we're going to say is the next one we'll replace this with is going to be on fast enemy turn. So the only way that we're getting to fast enemy turn is we've finished the fast enemy turn and we're coming back to the turn system, because start run isn't going to hop down to player turn. We shouldn't. What we should do instead is inside of start round, if player is ready, hop to player. Otherwise, hop to action system. So, and set it to fast enemy turn. So what we do is we don't. This is if once we finish fast enemy turn, basically, which means we're going to set the current end. This would have to be after the animation is finished playing, which means we are ready to progress. Which means we're going to now set the current state to player turn, and then we're going to set the status to player. So yeah, basically we're beginning to process the player's turn, and then the next one is if it is slow enemy's turn. So that means we've just finished the slow enemy's turn, which means we're going to I'm probably just going to blip this through as a pad frame so that we start this up again on the start round. And then we're not going to change the value because it'll still be the turn manager. And then we technically can put a on round end here, but I'm not going to put it until I have something to write it for. Okay, so that's fixed for here. So now the turn system is the only thing managing our turns. We kind of had it split with the action system, but I think I'm just going to completely scrap that. So let me find turn system data. And we're just going to change from a ref read write to just a ref get singleton, and that should change a lot of this behavior. Okay, so the first one is going to be player turn, where we will just read the player turn and then process it. Then we're going to set it to visual and let that play out. So yeah, we'll do that. Then we're going to delete you. Then we're going to change this to .fast enemy turn. And on fast enemy turn, we're going to process fast enemies and pause planner. Then we're going to do a slow enemy turn. Oh, and once we're done with fast enemy turn, then we're going to set status dot value ro dot value to system types dot behavior. Start the next plan up. Okay. Let's see. What happens if we hit play? Yo. That's not good. That's very not good. Ugh. Okay, and then what was the log for walking through this? Starting round. Okay, did we get through starting round? No, we need to add the logic here. So if let's go into behavior system data. We're gonna have a list of agents. Has the list of agents been written to yet? I feel like I did that. No, we did agent positions. Okay, So what we'll do is we need to store the agents by how many turns they're getting. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace, we'll say agents in round. Up here, we're going to grab behavior system data. Or no, behavior system data, we already know this. They're doing this ahead of time. So all we're going to simply say is, we're just going to grab that info to read it. So what we're going to say is behavior system data, BSD, equal to system API dot get singleton behavior system data. And then we'll say BSD if fuck. Okay, so we want to store a collection that contains some logic or some data that's going to allow this thing to understand quickly whether or not the player is going first and and what? What is the other thing here? I think it's just a byte of how many how many turns they're getting that turn. But that's only going to be, that's always going to be one for the player. So we would need another collection, which is IDs assorted by speed, I think. And then this would want to be action or turns taken. Turns to take this round. Yeah, something like that. If IDs or if bsd.ids sorted by speed bracket 0 is not equal to or is equal to 0, data dot value read write dot current state is equal to player turn. Oh, I need to make this curled. Data dot value rewrite dot value, or no, not data, status. Oh, is it the player? I kind of want to try the end of line curly. See if I end up liking it more. I've always ended up using this, but I kind of want to give it a try because I've heard a lot of people say that once they try it, they like it more. So appearance and behavior scopes. Notifications, would this be editor? General. JetBrains writer new line curly. Braces layout. All right, we'll try this out. Maybe I'll hate it. And then we're going to do else data dot value write dot current state is going to be equal to fast enemy turn. Status dot value write dot value is equal to action. Okay, and then in behavior system, I do want to make this, hold on. Let me make this struct layout layout kind dot explicit size is equal to, let's see. What the fuck is a byte enemy type? I don't think I'm using that for anything right now. Okay, so it's going to be 256 for each because 255 is the max byte value, but we'll also need to include 0. So it's 256 possible values for a byte. And then we're doing that for all of these are going to be byte dot max value sized. So it's 256, 256, 256, and then the int needs to be times forward. So 256 times 4 times 5 times 6 times 7, basically. Okay, 1792 bytes. And then we'll do field offset 0. Field offset 256. Field offset 512. Wait, 256 plus 256 is 512. Yep. And this will be field offset 256 times 126 or times 6, 1536. There we go. Since we know exactly how much it is, it would be nice to allocate that ahead of time. We know exactly how big this struct's going to be. We can allocate that at creation, and then we don't have to worry about like resizing names or anything as we add or modify these arrays. And then I hate the fact that there's not a space here, so we're gonna do that. Okay. I end up having to change this later, but that'll be annoying, but for now this will be fine. Okay, delete this. Okay, when we get to the behavior system, actually, let's go to the response system real quick. ID sorted by speed has not been assigned to. Turns to take this round have not been assigned to. Agent positions did get assigned to, and then I just need to make sure that it's set to 256. I think it is already, but and then active enemy IDs. Has that one been written to yet? What does that even mean? Hold on, I might not need this one. Where is the C instances of? Find usages. Hold on. Oh, it hasn't been used anywhere. Okay, we're just gonna get rid of that. And then we're going to 256 times 6 should be 5. 1536. Okay, so agent positions gets written to And then turn system. Don't need that. Okay, on start run. BSD. Oh, I need to grab the reference. Ref read write of behavior system data. BSD is equal to system API dot get singleton read write behavior system data. So I think it's more compact, which is nice. Fuck, I think I should get some water. I'm kind of lightheaded. 1 second. Wait. Oh, I get to use my new AFK button. Look, I'm gonna click AFK, and it's gonna auto mute me. Haha, you can't. Okay. Oh my god, and it auto unmuted me whenever I moved my mouse. What a nice feature. Okay. Now I'm getting some water. Feeling a little less lightheaded. I'm probably not gonna be able to stay up too late tonight, I'm gonna be honest. I'm kind of wiped. I had some really bad sleep this week, so hopefully this will reset everything. We'll be good to go. Okay, so at the beginning of the run, we need to create these arrays. So BSD dot value read write dot turns to take this round is equal to new size 256 allocator dot persistent BSD dot value read write dot IDs sorted by speed equals new 56 allocator dot persistent. Then I need to do for what's the efficient way to do this? Wait. Okay. Let me see how I store the enemy and the player data stuff. Close system data authoring. Don't want that anymore. I don't really want this. I don't want this right now. Do we need to store speed diff? And tier could just go on the player anyways. I think we delete this. I think we delete that. I think we go here and we put that there. I think we delete that. I think we rename this to agent. And then if we look at the player authoring, delete you. These are now identical. So all we'll do is we're going to remove the player from here. No, let's keep player its own struct. Why not just make a... No, I'm gonna do it. This is fucking stupid. We're gonna delete this. We're gonna have a shit ton of errors, but it's fine. We're gonna rename this to just agent. We have an agent. And then we're gonna add another component. And we're gonna name this like player tag. If I don't have one, we'll add it up here. Where all we'll say is public struct player tag I component date. There, that's all it does. So now anytime we go to reference the player, we just grab the player tag. And then we'll put this on the entity. And then we're gonna go to the agent. I want to put this up there. I like that better. And then similarly, there we go. Put that down there. Okay, we don't need a possible action matrix. We're gonna have the AI manage that. Don't need the world state in here either. Don't know what that's about. And then we're just gonna add a tag down here. I named it enemy Tage. Good one, dumbass. Okay. Step that require for updates. Player tag. Get singleton. Player.data.id. Why would I need the player ID? What the fuck was I doing? Just we'll rewrite all of that. That looks retarded. Okay. Underscore player. Why do I... Does that do anything? It does nothing. Okay. That doesn't need to be here. Turn system. There. Spawn system. Okay. Easy. That one's done. Who's left? Player turn system. Change that to player tag. Close. Close. Input system. Change this to player tag. Close. Behavior system. Get to you in a second. And that's it. Cool. Nice and easy. So now all we're going to say is for int I is equal to 0, I is less than actually we'll just make a job here. Hold on. I'm gonna minimize you. Minimize you. We're gonna make a new burst compile public partial struct sort agents colon I job entity execute, no, is it void execute? We're gonna make the execute for agent. And we'll get a ref read write to BS. So we'll just do ref read write to behavior. Just a minute. I need to change. Hold on. I thought I got rid of this. Editor, appearance and behavior. Where's it? Editor, code editing? Where's the... I need to change the require same case tab completion JetBrains writer. General inline completion. Match case. Save. So now I should be able to type in behavior system data. Perfect. Okay, so annoying. And we're going to set behavior system be called BSD. Okay, and then we're just going to say bsd.valueReadWrite turns to take this round. Bracket agent.data.id is equal to sort agnets. Fuck me. Agents, please. Thank you. Oh, I should probably look at chat again. Alright, there we go. Data.id is equal to we'll go up here and we'll just do byte. Hold on, what do I have behavior system data as? Turns to take this round needs to be stored as a S byte. There. I think this needs to get changed to an S byte. Yeah. And then all we're going to do is we're going to say S byte player speed. Let's make this public. Oh, I'm gonna make that a byte. Player speed minus agent.stats.speed plus 1. Yeah, so we're going to subtract player speed from, or no, it should be stats.speed minus player speed. I think. So if my speed is 8 and the player speed is 5, then I should be at 3. Technically 4, because it'll be 8, 7, 6. And then the 5, no, we won't make it 8, 7, 6, and then we won't make it 5. We'll just make it 3. And then if you're the player, it's going to be player minus player, which will be 0. Fuck. So maybe it does need to be plus 1. Okay, we'll do plus 1. So that way, if you're faster than the player, or if you're tied with the player, then you'll go behind the player. That's fine. Then if you're faster than the player, Actually, let's rename this. This isn't going to be sort agents. This is going to be determine agent speeds, or agent turns. So we'll do this job, and then after this job, then we'll sort ID sorted by speed using this. I think that's right. So if your speed is 8 and the player speed is 4, then you'll have 4 turns. Technically 5. It'll be 8, 7, 6, 5, and then the 4. And you'll have to do all those before the player. Then if you are the player, your speed will be 1, and that's fine. And then if you're equal to the player in speed, then your speed will be 1, but you'll be behind the player in the end, which is fine. And then if you're less than the player, you'll be like, if the player speed is 4 and the opponent's and the enemy's zombie is like a 2, then you'll be at negative 1, because you'll be player speed is 2, or 4 minus the 2, which is going to be 2, or negative 2 in this case, plus the 1, so it'll be negative 1. Man, I wish there was like an extension thing where it wasn't like +1. It would be like +1 if positive or -1 if negative, like a furthering out. There's got to be a way to mathematically do that. Hold on a second. I might know somebody who I can ask.
Oh,
Hey,
so it's just better.
I'm
Joel.
currently streaming right now. I had a quick math question for one of you.
Sure.
Maybe
Um,
go beyond.
I have
Are you
a
streaming, you said?
yeah, I am streaming.
Okay.
I have I'm trying to. So you know how what I want to do is I want to do an easy way to do number extension, and I'll explain what that means in a second. Like if you have a number that you're going to subtract, and it is either going to be positive or negative, if you add 1 to either of those numbers, they will always increase, right? But if you subtract
Sure.
1 from those numbers, they'll always decrease. What I would like to do is if it's positive, increase it by 1, and if it's negative, decrease it by 1. But I don't know if there's a way to do that without writing the if statement to read it and then do it. And basically split it into 2 math cycles. Like, is there a way to do um, a like an always correct extend further away from 0 thing?
Fuck. I remember something like this back in. Give me a second.
Mm-hmm. Real quick, just for reference, I'll put it in chat, but this is the formula. That +1 at the end, I want to be the extension 1.
But you want this to be you want this to execute in one go, so you're not wasting memory.
So I'm not wasting math cycles, basically.
Sorry. Yeah.
Because it'd be really annoying if I have to do speed minus player speed and then read the speed if, and then if it is greater than 0, add 1. If it's not, subtract 1. Like,
Um. Fuck. There is a way to do this. Give me a second. Um. I feel like a complete dumbass for asking this, but how is the negative number stored in this?
as an S byte.
Sorry, say it again.
Their positive or negative will be stored as an S byte.
Fuck. Okay, wait.
I feel like there's a way that I can do this. I feel like it has something to do with subtraction. Because I want to say that there was a way where, like, if you subtracted a number, then it would always goes towards 0. Because if you did positive minus the number, it would go down. But if you did negative minus the number, then it would. Or there was some way to do negative where it would become like a positive and it would go back up. But I can't remember, and I have horribly fallen out of what I knew about math. But I feel like there was a way to always add a number further.
Well, you would just do the
from
absolute
0.
value.
Oh, it's gonna be an ABS.
Yeah, but at that point, I don't know if that's like mathematically good or not. I'm trying to find. Give me a second.
How to always get further from 0. I don't know how to Google this.
Um,
You said there's a way to do it with the absolute absolute value.
it's just the absolute value of the thing plus 1 multiplied by the absolute value over the value.
Could you write that equation for me real quick? Just make agent speed A and player speed P. So I need to see that written so I understand what you're saying.
Agent speed A plus.
Do you see what I
agent
put in side
stats.
chat?
I can't fucking read. Sorry, my eyes are getting funky.
Just the right side's all that you care about. It's just all it is agent speed minus player speed plus the extender.
And you want that to be positive when or negative when?
I want it to be a +1 when we're going when the A minus P is positive, and I want it to be negative when the A minus P is negative.
Okay. A minus B plus 1. Times absolute value of A minus P divided by that should do what you want it to do. However, I don't know how
Oh, okay. I see.
yeah.
I understand. Okay.
The reason I'm asking you what it's stored as is because I don't remember what struct will do this, but there's a way to store numbers where it's the value and then the next part is the direction of the value. And if there's a way to call in that direction, that should make it easier, but
Okay.
but SBite does not do that. You just kind of fucked. So
I think if it's this mathematically complex, it's probably better to just use the if check because it's probably going to take more brain power to do this than the other thing. But
is it going to?
Yeah, I think it will. The second we start using that divide in there and running that A minus P a few times, I feel like it might just be better. But thanks for trying.
Yeah. No.
I feel like there should be a symbol for that, but I guess I don't know how you would.
Hold on, let me look at this.
Like.
I mean, unless you're willing to code the speed and the speeds as vectors, I don't know.
Yeah, I'll just do the F check because that math thing I think would just be more expensive than doing the F check. But I was hoping there. I thought there was a way that you could do this that was really simple, and I was just forgetting it. But I guess not.
There might be. Again, I am out of practice.
That's fine.
Yeah.
All right.
That's
Thanks.
all I got for you. All right. Bye.
See ya. Okay. Well, fuck me. I think we don't have to write this out as an if. Well, I think we can do the coalescing, which is basically an if anyways, so it'll be an if, but so it'll be greater than or equal to 0. It would be this return. Oh no, this will be fine. And then it'll be is it going to be equal to... No reason to cast it into that if we're not going to actually... Is there a way to grab the value of the if check? Reference the value of the if check of the coalesce check. Okay, I'm tired of this. We're just gonna say s byte is equal to s byte paste. I want to say is equal to I didn't need to name that variable. Speed diff. We'll say speed diff. Return speed diff +1 or speed diff -1. Okay, there we go. It's ugly, but it's fine. So that should return us our speed value. So we'll run determine agent turns. First, I think we have to set the whole array to 0. Fill an array with default values, C#. Fill unsafe list. Unity. Whatever. We'll just do... Wait, I saw a way you could do this with enumerable. Enumerable dot repeat zero comma 256 to list. add range has to be another unsafe list. Cringe. Okay. Then we'll just do for and I is equal to 0. I is less than 256. I plus plus. BSD dot value read write dot turns to take this around dot add no resize 0. Okay, then we'll run our determine agent turns DAT is equal to new DAT dot schedule parallel. Actually, we'll change it to dot run, so that after that we can then do DAT dot, or no, that we can run that way that run the main thread, and then once that's done, then we'll run the next job, which is going to be public partial struct sort agents my job entity, and we'll grab execute void execute. I don't know why I keep forgetting to do void. And we're just going to grab a ref rw of, actually I think if you just put ref it works. Ref behavior system data of BSD. For and then we need a reference to public ref read write of, or no, we have BSD, we're good. For int I is equal to 0, I is less than IDs sorted by I turns to take this round, or BSD dot turns to take this round dot length I plus plus BSD dot S byte cutoff is equal to BSD dot turns to take this round bracket 0 for int I is equal to 1, I is less than turns to take this, or BSD dot turns to take this round dot length I plus plus S byte cur speed is equal to 10. If BSD dot turns take this round bracket I is equal to curve speed BSD dot turn ID sorted by speed is equal to dot add no resize I. Okay, let's make sure I did this right. So we have a cutoff value. Which is once we hit the cutoff value, then we slot in the number, and then we no, okay, that's what I have wrong. For S byte, curve speed is equal to 10. Curve speed is greater than 0. Curve speed minus minus. Then we're going to here, delete that line. Go to the end. Okay. So we're going to start off with curve speed 10. We're going to look through all of the items. Instead of setting these to 0, let's set them to negative. Oh, these are supposed to be oh no, these are S bytes, so we can set them to like negative 20 or negative 10, so they'll never hit that. So that way, if they're not assigned to right now, then we don't have to worry about them. I just want to get rid of all the zeros, because the zeros are going to complicate shit. Or I guess we don't need to, because of the +1, there is no way to get 0, I think. Let me double check to make sure I'm right about that. But if we're at the same speed of the player, where we would get 0, we're adding 1. And if we're less than the player by 1, so we're at -1, then we're subtracting 1. So it's actually impossible to have 0 unless you haven't been assigned. So actually, we can leave this as 0. Then we'll close that. And then what we'll do is for S byte is equal to 10, curve speed is equal to 10, curve speed is greater than 0. But this actually needs to say greater than -10. And then we're just going to make a new line that says if curve speed is equal to 0. Continue. So we'll skip the 0. But everything about this is right. So if we'll iterate through. If I is we'll iterate through the whole loop, reading all of the values that match. If they match, then we add them in. No resize. And then we'll go if cur speed is equal to cutoff. I should name that player speed, actually. Cutoff is not the right wording. Okay, fuck. I need to use this control scheme. If cur speed is equal to player speed, ESD dot ID sorted by speed dot add no resize 0. Actually, this is always going to be true when it's 1. So we'll just say if this is equal to 1, then add the 0 in before we process the rest of the 1s, right? Because we're only going to get the number 1 when an enemy is going to take the exact same number of turns as the players. We just slot that in before the enemies of that speed go. I think this is right. So we'll do dat.run, and then we'll say sort agents. You go to new sort agents and say run. Okay, I think that should work. And then what we'll do is we will we're going to hook in at this, and we're going to see where we sit with all of our options. Attach. And bam. Index 0, out of range, and container length 0. Turn system 40. How do we get to here? Oh, wait. Hold on. I know the issue. Turn system data's start is on start round. This needs to be set back to start run. And I just realized that looking at this, after we're done, we don't set it back to start round. So let's actually change this to a return. And then we're going to go open this up, and we're going to say system API dot get singleton read write at type system status dot value read write dot value is equal to system types dot turn, and system API dot get singleton read write turn system data dot value read write dot current state is equal to start round. So we can hook it in all of these, and that should be fine. And then we'll click play. Oh, it's got to recompile. Oh no, we're in the infinite fucking loading Unity. I don't know why it does this. There's some weird thing that Writer has with the breakpoints that fucks this thing up. In the task. Open this up. Reboot the project. Okay, it's booted now, so now we should be able to reattach just to make sure. And click play. Behavior system 32. Check state goes into 54. Yeah, what's wrong with this? BSD.data uses unsafe pointers, which is not allowed. Unsafe pointers can lead to crash, and no safety against race conditions can be provided. Let's see. This is on 54, so that we hit the first job, I think. Yeah. Oh, I should probably reference those fields, shouldn't I? Maybe that's the issue. I don't think it is, but we'll do it just in case. Get singleton of is player player tag comma agent system API dot query player tag comma agent. It's agent, right? Yeah, it's just agent. Watch this be ref RO, is that the problem? What is the problem here? Why can't I do a multi-query? Comma. Agent. Dot item. Dot bracket. 0. Do I have to do with all? Hold on, it's been too long. Query dot with all agent comma is player Yeah, probably do the carbon races. What is the problem now? Oh, fuck. There we go. Save. Reload. Are you gonna infinitely freeze on me again? No. Okay. Let's reattach. And then once it's done, we'll click play. So it's throwing it at line 54. Maybe it really doesn't like the query. For the player, I really kind of want the player to be a singleton. So let's make it an iComponent data, and we'll just feed it in a wrapper of an agent. Okay, I hate it, and it's dumb, but I just don't want to. I don't want to do this big fucking long query every time. Okay, so now close that out, go back to behavior system. Save that, disconnect this so I don't get this stupid fucking bug again, and then refresh. Another fucking memory leak. Okay, we're back to using unsafe pointers. So it didn't like the query, but now we're back to the unsafe pointers issue. Is there a way to ignore this? Let's see. Job uses unsafe pointers, Unity. Native disable unsafe pointer restriction. What's wrong? Oh, it's only for fields. I see. So I need to put it on this. Okay. And now that we saved that, we should reload this and then not have the issue. Another leak. Okay, we'll deal with that in a second. Let's click attach. It's attaching any moment now. Okay, let's click play. Uh-oh. We get stuck in an infinite loop. Unity's frozen. So let me close Unity before it kills my computer. And let's figure out why the fuck it froze. Okay, I think it's gonna be something in this loop that I fucked up. Let's just... You know, let's just add a good, healthy amount of breakpoints. Just, you know. Just in case. We'll catch it somewhere in here. Let's reattach. And click play. Okay, we're on the turn system. Makes sense. We're gonna hit continue. Continue. Oh, we made it to the behavior system. So I think that's what we wanted to. Yep, start run. We swap over to behavior. Okay, now we're on the start run. So now we're gonna iterate through. I don't know why we skipped this line. But let's see. BSD should now have a length 256 agent positions. Yep. Which are almost all just 0, 0. Yep. Then we're gonna have an IDs sorted by speed. Should be, yeah, we haven't added anything yet to that. That makes sense. And then turns to take this round is 256. And we haven't run that yet. So now we're on here. If we step over this, okay, we did hit this point. We'll continue to the next. Turns to take this round should now have, here we go. Why is 0 at 0? So just hold on. We open the spawn system. The player is given speed 5, and the enemies are given speed 3 and speed 10. So if you're a speed 3 enemy, then you're only going to go once for every 3 turns that the player goes. So -3 is correct. And then if you're a speed 10 enemy, then you should go 6 times. That sounds right. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and then the 5. Yep, that makes sense. 6 times. Why the fuck is the player speed not assigned? It's not because this is an agent under the agent, right? It still counts as being a component that you would grab, correct? If I go to... Oh, Entity's hierarchy hasn't updated yet. We'll see after this. We'll walk through this. Okay, so now what's going to happen is... Now we're back at behavior system. We're here. So now we're going to hit walk step over. Okay. Current speed is 10. Resume. Okay, and now we're in an infinite. Okay, and now I gotta reset down Unity again. So I fucked up something in this loop. What did I fuck up? Current speed's equal to 0, skip it. Current speed's equal to 1, add the player. Okay, if I is equal to 1, and I is less than turns to take this round, that's our array that we assigned back here, dot length, I++. So now it should go from 1 to 255. If bsd.turns to take this round I is equal to current speed, then bsd.id's sorted by speed, add no resize I. And then we go back up to the top and set it to 9, and then run through it again. What did I do wrong here? And okay. So hypothetically, current speed is equal to 10. We start at 1. 1 is less than 256. If 1 value is equal to 10, add no resize 1. This is... I don't know why this is not working. I don't understand. I'm reattaching breakpoints. And we're assigning them all throughout here. And then I'm going to click play. Get out of the turn system. Sort agents. Okay. Current speed's 10. Okay, so our 10 that we need to... There's nobody that's going to be a 10. So all this is going to do is it's going to iterate through. Okay, so this should... Let me right click. Condition. I is equal to 254. Hit continue. Okay, we're currently at 254. So we're about to hit the end of this loop. 255. Why are you starting the loop over again? Oh. Oh. Okay. My dumbass. Okay. End task. Yep. Reboot. I see what happened. So what I need to write here is if I is equal to 1 and I is less than less than or equal, no, less than length minus 1. Because what's happening is that it's trying to hit 256, which it will never hit, and so then it's overflowing back to 0, and then continuing the loop. Okay, I understand now. So now if I recompile with that -1, reattach the editor, and then play. Skip through, skip through, skip through, skip through. Skip. 254. Am I gonna be able to hold the thread, please? Thank you. 255. I'm pretty sure that means that it didn't check. The 255 position. You know what I can do though? Okay. So it'll cancel out. We're technically an off by 1 error right now, but I know how to fix it. It'll be really funny. So we'll hook out of that, and then we'll hit continue, continue. Now we'll hit back around. Okay, so now we run through 9. Let's just skip through all of this. Okay, 8, 7, 6. Okay, so now this should have value 2. There's a 2 and a 4 here. Okay, let's go back to turns to take this round. Oh, I did I make 4 enemies? I thought I made 3. I think I did only make 3. Why? Why are there 4 values here? Did I fuck up this line? Fuck. Let me attach a breakpoint there. We'll go through this next time. Okay, so now if we hit continue, now our speed is at 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. You know, there is a way to speed this up, which I hadn't actually thought about yet, but that actually could be a really nice way to not have to spend a bunch of time looking through like curse speed negatives that you're not actually going to hit. Okay, and then we'll just stop attach. Now we should end up here. And okay, I don't exactly know where we've hit in the turn order right now, but that's fine. Because I think we're gonna have to restart the checker anyways, but let's do a few quick edits. So first, our check is not going to be length minus 1. Our check is going to be if I is not equal to 0. Because we're only going to hit 0 once we've gone through the whole list. Which is really funny, because the 0 slot's the player and we're trying to iterate through all the enemies. By setting this equal to 0, we will only hit it once we've overlapped the byte. Which is, I don't know, that's kind of amusing. Typically in the for loops here, it's always like less than a value, but we're actually going to iterate through the whole byte value. Good meme. Okay, and then what we're actually going to do is up here, we're going to set known max, or no, s byte known max to be equal to 10, and s byte known min to be equal to -10. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say if curse or s byte is equal to known max, and curse speed is greater than known min, and then what we're going to do is once we iterate through at 10, we're going to, if I also want to change this from curtain speed to cur diff speed. That way it's easier to keep track of in my head. And then we're going to change if bsd dot turns to take this around bracket I. No, that's what we do. Okay. We set it equal to 10. For the start. And then once we're in here, we set known max is equal to max if fuck, hold on. Okay, this looks kind of ugly, but this looks pretty ugly. I'm not gonna lie, this looks pretty gross. But basically, the issue is that most of our 256 is going to be empty most of the time, and I don't want to fucking run through all 256 every fucking time. Because you're really, if I don't put clamps on it, you're going to run through 256 20 times, 21 times. Like, fuck that. So instead what we'll do is skip all the zeros. Yeah. Let me make sure this is right. It doesn't cause a fucking another infinite. If the current speed is 10, we set our known max and known min to 0 to basically reset them. And then on the first time we go through this, when current speed is 10, then we set our new known maxes and mins to reduce the scale that we have to go through. Let's save to make sure that that recompiles. We'll see where we go from there. Okay, reattach. Hit play. Continue. Continue. Okay, let's walk through these. Speed diff is 5. This is enemy number 1. ID 2. 3. 4. Oh. I know what's fucking happening. God damn it. Okay. Let's just make sure that this is working and then we'll be good to go. Skip to the next point, which is in here. Okay, moment of truth. Did I fuck this up? If we hit resume, we should be at 9. What the fuck? Oh, I should have put it here. Fuck. Alright, let's see the results at least. BSD. IDs sorted by speed. 2, 4, and 0. Cancel out. Okay, so the first issue that I'm realizing is spawn system. I need to do a dot with any or with all enemy tag. Because I'm overriding what the player's fucking shit is here. That's why there's 4 enemies, quote unquote, because we reassign it twice. Or reassign it twice. So let's fix that. And that will solve that problem. And then we need to go into here. And I want to run... For some reason, it didn't seem like it assigned the negative numbers. I don't know if that's because known min was too low or what happened, but we're gonna rerun this. I'm gonna only look for the negative ones and then run through that and see what happened. Reattach. Waiting. Play. Current system. Behavior. Go to next. Okay, so now if we look at BSD, it should just be 0, 1, 2, and... What the fuck? How? How did it get worse? How did it get worse? Alright. Hold. How did it get worse? Hold on. Let's go here. Restart. Oh, we gotta reattach. The enemies have the enemy tag. The player does not. So the player should not be involved in this. Quick play. Okay. We hit this. How many people are in our fucking query? Matching entities. Wrong query. Enemy. ID 0. Maybe it's just because it hasn't been assigned yet. Okay, we have an ID 1, an ID 2, an ID 3, where are we on here? We're on behavior system or turn system? Turn system. Okay, we need to add with all agent comma enemy to make sure that that is set moving forward, but I don't think that actually needs to be done by us at all. Okay. Get singleton read right. Okay, hit continue. Okay. Hit continue. Close out of this one. Alright. Do we want to see inside this one again? Let's see inside this one. Okay, agent. ID is 1. Resume. ID is 2, 3. Okay, we have an ID 0. Current entity. Player. Okay, so the player is here. Okay, we're all good. Let's walk through this. Step over. Player speed. The speed diff should be... Speed diff should be 0. Why is the speed diff -5? Because we never assign the player a speed stat? We did! We definitely did. Okay, disconnect, reattach, and play. Okay. Player, agent, data, ID is 0. Speed is now 5. Okay. Enemy. Data. So we're going to set their speed. We're going to set the ID. ID 2. ID 3. Okay. So there should not be 4 enemies. It's 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now we can continue. Now, what did I miss in here? I do value read writes. So at this point, enemy 1. Player speed is 5, right? And his speed's 3, so it should be -2. Then the -1 will make that -3. 5, then they'll make it 6. -2, make it -3. Then we have the player. Why is it setting the speed diff to -5? Because the speed is 0. Why is the speed 0? For what reason? And the speed is 5 here. I don't understand. Oh no, what the fuck is that? Oh my god. Okay, well, that explains that problem. So the feeling I have now is that it's not going to actually iterate with the player. And we're just going to be a iteration down, but let's see. So now if we look at BSD, IDs sorted, returns to take this round. Yeah, it just doesn't. I guess that's not too big of a deal. I'm going to detach because I don't care about the rest of this because it's wrong. Because if the current diff speed is equal to 0, or I should say if it's equal to 1, then we're going to add the 0 anyways. So I guess it doesn't matter. I just need to rename determine agent turns to determine enemy turns. Because it's only running on... And even though it doesn't do anything, I'm just going to put enemy tag here so that it's crystal clear who's this running on. Okay. And now I just want to see these. And I want to make sure that the turn sequence is correct. Patch. Wait, run. Oh, we got a comp error. Oh. Alright, we'll wait for that to save, then run this. Bam. Run that. Step through, step through, step through, step True. Okay. Now we've done everything. Let's see how we check out. Turns to take this turn. I just want to manually set that to 1 so I don't ever feel weird about that again. And that's -3. That's 6. And that's -3. So that should be correct, because I think it goes 3-8-3. Or 3-10-3. And then if we go to IDs sorted by speed. Okay, this is wrong. We have 2 and we have 0. We should have 2-0-1-3. So we'll disconnect. We'll or no, I'll disconnect because I don't want to get this stupid fucking bug again. And right here, I'm just gonna do bsd.value_read_write dot turns to take this round bracket 0 is equal to 1, just so I don't forget about that, because I don't like that it's not assigned. And then we're gonna add a breakpoint. Save first, let that reload. Okay, now that's reloaded, we're going to click the breakpoint there. Then we're going to click reattach and run. Skip, 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 skip. Okay, we're here. So speed is 1. Our known min is -3. Our known max is 6. Oh, I know the issue. Okay, skip out. This needs to say less than or equal to. Oh. Greater than or equal to known min. That's the issue. That's what was happening. It was quitting out before we hit the actual. Unity? No take, not reloading, please. Save. T equals save. Okay, guess not. Okay, I'm gonna reattach. Bam. 1, 2, 3. I don't need this one anymore. Known min is -3. We'll hit play. Okay, there we go. BSD. ID sorted. Let's make sure that the 1 got properly assigned. Yep. ID sorted by speed. 2-0-1-3. Perfect. That's what I wanted. Okay, now that that works, I can leave this. So we've set these values. Now the turn should get set to start. We hop over to the turn system. We do the on start round. What is in our on start round now? I don't need current speed. I don't think that's the thing I need anymore. So we're gonna hit start round. We're gonna increment the round counter. Then if BSD dot is sort by ID sorted by speed 0 is equal to 0, start the player turn. Otherwise, we set it to fast enemy turn, and we turn it to action. Okay. Okay, we set it to process fast enemies and pause planner, which then takes us over to the behavior system, where we just break infinitely. I click play. All we do is then turn it back to the visual system. And then the visual system is going to oh, it's getting late. I need to go to bed. Do nothing. So it's gonna sit there and then set it back to turn. And then turn system comes back in at why does the visual system never move on? If value RO second in animations is less than or equal to 1, up it, and then return. Otherwise, we set it back to 0. I don't know. There's something holding us in the visual animation thing. I'll figure it out because, but what we need to do is start processing the enemy turn here. So that'll be the next stage, is doing that part, and then we'll be good to go. Okay, so we've rectified the turn system. And now we can go back to working on behavior. So the next stage will be coding out that, oh god, I need to stand up. Oh, I need to stretch. Coding out the enemy AI and, I'm blanking. Yeah, just coding the enemy. I just need to make the enemies start working and doing things. So that'll be fun. All right, thanks guys for hanging out. I'm going to bed.